Sports, sports, and more sports. Up next on Sports Bar. All right, welcome back to Season 3 of Sports Bar. We finally got all of our panel back. Chris is back from his break on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I guess let's just get right down to it. So the Panthers won last night, and so did the Broncos, but obviously Panthers home team. So let's go ahead and talk about them for a bit. What all did you see that you think going into the Broncos game is beneficial? Because I feel like unlike normally, we actually played in the second half. So
yeah, no, they definitely had their energy up the entire game. I think that after the Seahawks second half disaster that we witnessed, I think they definitely came in with this idea of like, okay, we can't let up on them, which is why you saw a 2-point conversion halfway through the game for no apparent reason. And some other things that I was like questionably like, okay, sportsmanship, not really sure, but I understand that they were really, really trying to show, you know, we're not going to let up, we're not going to let up. So overall, I think that's what really changed everything. They've had all the components for a while. It was just the fact that they get sloppy towards the end. When they get comfortable, they tend to let off the gas a little bit and then struggle from there. So I think that you just saw a lot of, you know, Kuechly was on it the entire game.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Clearly comes out with all those picks. And yeah. So I think it just came down to the fact that they were there to play for the entire game and not the first, you know, 2.5 quarters.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the person who I think has shined the most that gets little to no airtime is Ted Ginn. I mean, Ted Ginn just continually, I mean, this is a guy who is a special teams cast-off of almost every team in the NFL. The only place he's ever done well is the Panthers. And all of a sudden, in the playoffs, he goes up against Patrick Peterson and consistently moves the ball. And then he has a big punt return in the game, too. I mean, he's just been an X factor for the Panthers, and they're paying him nothing.
He also stopped that Patrick Peterson interception.
That's true. That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Exactly. Demon.
Yeah. I mean, he's even at 30, 31 years old, he's still one of the most, you know, the fastest guys in the league. But you were talking about, you know, that 2-point conversion and maybe some questionable sportsmanship. As a Panther fan who has seen some hard seasons, I did not care at all. I wanted to hang 70 on him. I mean, like, there was a big reason why, like, no one was leaving the stadium 40 minutes after that game was over, because we were soaking in that moment. And really everyone should anytime you get that opportunity, because, you know, not everyone is a fan of the Patriots. And they're not going to have Tom Brady for much longer, and, you know, who knows what Jimmy Garoppolo will end up doing or if they even go with him. But I'm just so jazzed about this team and about their
I have to
hopes
ask,
at the Super Bowl.
as a Panthers fan, a true blue Panthers fan, were you happy that they're not playing the Patriots, or were you hoping for a rematch? Because I've heard both sides of the coin.
I had some mixed feelings. I mean, in 2003, I mean, I was in the 3rd grade, but that's still plenty old enough to have plenty feelings of hate. And some of my best friends happen to be Patriots fans, so I was like, oh yeah, that'll make a really nice Super Bowl party. But at the same time, I'm glad we're not playing Tom Brady. No disrespect to Peyton Manning and no disrespect to that Denver defense, but I still would fear the Patriots and, you know, Brady and Gronkowski and that team in the Super Bowl more than I do the Broncos right now.
Yeah.
With that being said, I really hope that doesn't you know, bite us in the Super Bowl. But
well, who wants to see Brady in a 7th Super Bowl though? I mean, when it really comes down to
after everything with last year and with all of that, I just think
with Peyton, you know, this probably being his last season. I mean, you know, I don't feel bad at all beating Peyton in the Super Bowl if it's his last game. I think, well, very few quarterbacks have ever even attempted to go out on top.
John Elway is the one.
Exactly.
He set Peyton up just like that.
Exactly. So, you know, even if you lose in a beatdown, your last game was in the Super Bowl. So
well, it's one of those things. Even if the Panthers come out with a win, it's awesome. They came out with a win. And if they lose, well, we lost. But just Peyton Manning's last Super Bowl, hopefully, probably. I mean, it's a weird. That's it should be. If it's not, he's going to go out in a wheelchair.
He's going to be Brett Favre.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. As long as he doesn't go to as long as he doesn't go to the Patriots, then.
Oh gosh, he better not go anywhere.
Well, I'm sure he has a career, of Levi Jeans commercials waiting for him after this.
Yeah.
That Papa
State
John's,
Farm.
man. He owns
Papa
quite a few
John's.
Papa John's.
You're right.
It's going to be set up.
You're right. He's going.
So going back to what you were saying earlier about the 2-point conversion kind of pointless. I was thinking about it. Maybe they were proving that, like, unlike the Patriots, they can get a 2-point conversion.
They're not going to miss the extra point that could have tied the game.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Gano at the start of the year was a little iffy.
And Gostkowski is one of those kickers. I'm pretty sure he held, before this season when they moved it back, he actually held the record for most consecutive.
He hadn't missed since his
PATs.
freshman year at wherever he went. I forgot actually.
Yeah,
I
but,
don't
well,
know.
they mentioned in the broadcast it was like 520 some odd kicks
9
in a row.
straight years of
I mean, that's ridiculous.
not missing a
now,
PAT.
Obviously, to me, there's no excuse if you're an NFL kicker for missing from
Yeah,
2.
you're getting
Yeah.
paid
but
to do
from
one
30,
thing, but
I mean, so he had a great season, and if they would have even tried to blame that loss on the fact that he
I've seen a
missed
lot of
PAT.
him blaming himself, but everyone else, coaches and everything.
It's kind of like the Blair Walsh situation. I mean, that guy was pretty good too, and obviously that was more blatant, and the game kind of ended that way. But that guy's a great kicker. So plenty of opportunities otherwise.
I mean, I can see how he's blaming himself, because if he had made that kick, they wouldn't have had to go for 2.
They
he
probably
could
would
have
have had the extra
tried to
point.
kick it again and then
Yeah.
tied it up. But so I mean, it's one of those you could pick any point in that game.
Yep.
Oh, there was a lot. That was not the only moment.
I mean, Brady threw some bad picks too, and that's really what it comes down to too. Is there's
Well-
no one single play that you can say changed that game completely.
Yeah, and if not for Gronk, are they even in that game?
No.
I mean, 4th and 10 on that last drive, 4th and 10, and the pass down the middle of the field, and then that touchdown pass. I mean, where he's fighting around 2 guys.
Jumps
now,
over one of them.
Yeah, I mean, now they're both 6 inches shorter than he is, but still, that guy is something else, and that he is one of the pieces that I think will make them still good even after Brady. Just single-handedly, I think he can take a pretty average quarterback, and they can probably still win 11 games a year.
And that's why even the coaches and everything for the Broncos before the game had said there's one thing we have to do, and it's get Brady to the ground, and that's what they did, and I think that's how they succeeded 100%. They knocked him down, and they kept him from getting the passes he wanted to get off, and a lot of those things. So overall, they did what they wanted to do, and I think that was the only way they were going to win that game. If they had let Brady throw or, even hand off for what he normally does, they were going to lose that game by a pretty spectacular margin.
Peyton did just enough, and the defense won them the game.
Oh,
Which is such a weird thing, because how many years in Peyton's career have we seen Peyton carry these teams with no defense to deep in the playoffs, and then the defense ends up letting it down, or he falls apart. I mean, Peyton's been notorious to do that in big moments. But I think one of the greatest things about yesterday's game was just Denver didn't look intimidated at all in the game, and I think that's one thing that New England just always seems to have versus everyone in the league is this mental edge that they know going in. The first time you make a mistake, you're done. We're just going to start beating you down, and we're going to take advantage of turnovers and things like that. And what Denver did was they came in and they hit really hard. I mean, there were probably 10 hits in that game that I'm like, that could be a Sports Center. Back in the day when they used to do the huge hit segments on ESPN and stuff, they'd had all the plays.
Before targeting.
Before
Football
targeting.
was fun.
And they had some targeting. They even had some targeting
the
calls.
refs were letting a few things slide that I think.
But you take the flags because, like I said, I mean, Gronk, he ended up having a great game, but it was mostly in the second half. They kept a lot of that team shut down in the first half. And Von Miller was the player of the game.
Played incredible.
Oh,
I think he had 3 sacks. He had an interception. I mean, he just lights out.
It.
And if you're going to beat Brady, you have to bring him to the ground.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that culture and them having that mental edge. Really one of the only real mainstays of that squad over the last even 5 or 6 years is Brady and Belichick, and a lot of other revolving door kind of guys, and it's amazing how they do keep that same mentality. I mean, midway through the season, I thought they were essentially done in many ways because they had one guy, Julian Edelman, that could catch the ball, and the running backs that were kind of that pressure valve release for Brady. They went down, Lewis and Blunt. So it's amazing what they do really sometimes with what they have. But all that being said, I'm glad we're not playing them in the Super Bowl.
And I'm sure if Brady doesn't retire, I mean, we're going to see the Patriots probably in the AFC Championship again. I mean, it's five straight years. There's no reason to think that this is going to be the end of it all. But it's nice to see Peyton come out on top because that whole career, or both of their careers, have been constant comparison. Who's the better quarterback? Who's the better quarterback? Peyton has all the stats, but Brady has all the rings. And so this gives Peyton a chance to kind of level that a little bit, and that's exciting.
Brady has the mentality. I mean, he could play well into his early 40s, as far as I'm concerned. I don't like that.
For the
idea,
NFL's sake, I really hope not. For my sake, actually, very selfishly, I hope not, as a Bills fan.
So, we're talking about all the people that are making it to the Super Bowl, but there's those that don't make it to the Super Bowl. They get to play in the Pro Bowl that's coming up. This Wednesday, actually, is going to be the draft. Team Irvin, Team Rice. If you guys were one of the coaches, who would be your top pick for that?
I would have to say Rob Gronkowski. I've told a lot of people, I think Rob Gronkowski is the ultimate weapon in today's league. He's too big to be covered by, or he's too fast to be covered by linebackers. He can get around them, and he's too big to be covered by safeties. There's only a handful of safeties in the league that can match up with him, and even then, the way that they call things now, I mean, you can't get your hands on him, and he can sit there and kind of push people around a little bit, and they're a little more lenient about calling those offensive pass interferences, and so he's really just got the advantage in today's league.
I don't know. This is a hard question. I mean, if not for the Panthers being in the Super Bowl, which thank God, but I mean, I would definitely take Newton. Definitely, there's a strong case for Gronk in that game, but I hate to take another Patriot. I'm probably taking Brady. Just because
strong
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you go wrong taking him. I mean, like even at his advanced age, quote unquote, he's still considered the best quarterback in the league. In a game where there's probably going to be a lot of offense anyway.
There always is.
So I'm probably taking Brady.
Yeah, and I want to agree with these guys, but to pick someone different.
Okay.
And this is more of a, just because I like redemption more, I would like to see Carson Palmer of random people. I just think that he didn't play the game he should have yesterday. I think that he struggled in a lot of ways, and people are saying he choked and all of this stuff. But I think he's a really good player who just, a lot of things went wrong that weren't necessarily his fault. But I still think he is still one of the best quarterbacks that is out there right now. And if you're not going to take a Brady or Gronk or something like that, it'd be nice to see someone like that really do well and kind of prove themselves to be better than what people are now saying, they ruined the game and da-da-da, because he's getting a lot of flack for things that I don't think are entirely his fault. Clearly, there were a lot of issues. I mean, you can't have 7 turnovers and expect to win any football game. I don't care
Jake Delhomme
who
right
you're
there.
playing.
I mean, I think the biggest problem was just going up against the Panthers defense. The pressure on him. I mean, same thing that the Broncos did to Tom Brady. Brady's not used to people getting through his line. He usually has one of the best offensive lines.
Yeah, he's got time to think about it.
He's not used to getting hit, and so that's what the Panthers did well. That's what the Broncos did well. I mean, you can't.
Cam
really
had all
blame
day
him.
to throw. On that throw to Corey Brown down in the middle of the field, he double clutched like 4 times, and he had a perfect pocket. So I think
pulls about
Palmer,
15 seconds off the clock just looking around the field.
Exactly.
Well, and Palmer too. Palmer, I think, I mean, he's in his 30s, and that was only his 4th playoff game ever. So when you look at that too, I mean, experience. I know that the Panthers, not all those guys, they're not super experienced either, but I think they were a superior, talented team. And sometimes you need that experience to help round you out. And if you don't have it at the quarterback spot, and you don't have an athlete like Cam Newton who's just making everything happen right now, it's hard to keep up.
Well, and if you think what Carson Palmer's done for the Cardinals the rest of the year, I mean, he's not working with a ton of stuff. And
Larry Fitzgerald, I would say, is a lot of stuff.
Floyd, Brown. I mean,
but no running
none of those
game.
guys
he's definitely, there's big holes.
How much did people talk
there.
about David Johnson? Who is David Johnson? And I mean,
running back out
It
of
sounds kind of like a made-up name for,
well, as an avid FCSer, before we moved to FBS, I'm very well aware. We played Northern Iowa in 2005 for the national championship. But anyway, a lot of people really thought David Johnson might make a real impact in this game just because, he is another guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield, and it's hard to account for the running back in the passing game. I mean, you have a guy that can spy him or whatever, but, when you have guys like Larry Fitzgerald out there, obviously you're going to draw double teams. So if not for him, they wouldn't have moved the ball really hardly any in the first half.
And I mean, I think one thing that a lot of people forget is the record that Arizona had coming into this game. You know, they were saying about all the mistakes and stuff, but up until now, like, they've had a pretty solid season. So, I mean, a mistake here and there, yeah, it'll cost you, but you can't forget about, like, the rest of it. You can't put it all on Carson Palmer.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's kind of the issue being a quarterback in general. Things go well, you get a lot of praise. If things go poorly, you're the first one who's going to fall. So it's like coaches.
Yeah. So let's take a little shift real fast. We were talking about the Pro Bowl. Let's go ahead and start moving on to the NBA. Coming up on Valentine's Day is going to be the All-Star game. So it's going to be East versus West as always. We're seeing a pretty decent lineup of like LeBron, D-Wade, people like that. This might be Kobe's last one, but he's going to be teaming up with Steph Curry. Is there anyone, so they've already announced the 10 starters. Is there anyone that you want to see in the reserves get a little bit of play time?
Yeah, I don't know. See, the thing about the NBA All-Star game is that it's not a huge draw for me because it doesn't reflect like how they actually play in the season. I mean, there's like everybody, I'd like to see anybody who makes it come in and do all right, but personally, I guess I would like to see Kyrie Irving come in and do something because he's had such success at the All-Star weekend. I mean, I think I know he's won the three-point competition. He had a huge game in the last before LeBron came and joined Cleveland. That was kind of like the foreshadowing of it. So if he could come in and do well, selfishly as a Cavs fan, I think that'd be pretty cool. But
I mean, I agree with you. I think Kyrie would be a good choice for that. I mean, he's got the best crossover in the league as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you can watch just highlight videos of that guy all day, even back, his 10 games he played at Duke.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
even then I was like, wow, this guy's something. I'm really glad he got hurt for the season. And that sounds bad, but as a UNC fan at the time, I wasn't totally crushed. I wasn't totally crushed when that happened. But yeah, I mean, with his injury record, and that would be kind of a nice little redemption story. Even though All-Star Weekend is, like you said, kind of not as big of a deal. He definitely wants to win a championship, but it'd be a nice little.
Well, I mean, some
cherry.
people make a big deal of it. I think last year Damian Lillard didn't get picked to it, and he was furious.
Yeah,
at that.
I'm sure there's contract incentives that are somewhere
there's
in there
certain.
too.
You get the sponsorship or this. It's the how much you're going to be seen because of it, I think, than the actual playing
Lillard
of basketball.
Too. I mean, Lillard felt like, and really maybe the whole town of Portland felt like they were being disrespected in many ways, and much like the city of Charlotte for either the Panthers or when the Hornets are not looking bad, so being that small market, you're not in the limelight. I'm not sure if that was before or after Damian Lillard's Adidas shoe deal, but now he's got that Adidas money, so maybe he doesn't care as much.
I think it was before.
Yeah, I think it was before that. So. Definitely a different situation there as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's just an interesting game to see all these really big names, which you're used to being like, okay, we're going to get the ball, we're going to pass it to X person, and they're going to shoot. Or there's always the one person I feel like the teams are centered around a little bit, and it's very strange to watch all of these guys be thrown onto the court at the same time because it's a little bit kind of like a weird amount of like middle school basketball where everyone wants the ball but they're like, well, I know I shouldn't, but then it just becomes very strange. The dynamic is so different from what the rest of the season is. It just becomes more of a show than an actual basketball game that you're watching to be like, oh, who's doing well, who's doing poorly, because they're all ridiculous.
It's like watching the D League. No one passes the ball. Kobe dribbles down court, jacks up a three, misses. Chris Paul gets the rebound, shoots a three. I mean, that's kind of
they're just shooting half court back and forth.
You always get to see like a good mix of like people like Kobe against LeBron and things like that. You get to see a good mix of that where they know that they can go one-on-one with them and not worry about the rest of their team messing up the defense and stuff. So you do see a bit more like competition in those things. But aside from that, I mean, Kawhi Leonard's going to be playing defense, but I don't think he's going to be trying to show out too much on the offensive side. So staying with basketball, there is a game tonight, actually, 10:30, I believe. Spurs-Warriors, two best records in the league right now. Should be one of the better games of the season. Spurs are sitting at 40-4. Warriors are at 40-4. Spurs are at 38-6. But the Spurs do not have Tim Duncan tonight. How do you think that's going to affect them?
I think that's going to make or break it, honestly. I think that it was a pretty even matchup up until that point, and I think that was the one thing that's going to tip the scale a little bit against them. But, I mean, Steph Curry's incredible. I mean, it's hard to once again fall back on him and everything that he's been doing, but I think that they needed him to even everything out, and it's going to be a struggle, I think. I don't think the game's going to be as good as what everyone wants it to be.
One thing I'll say, though, is that quietly it might play into the hands of the Spurs. You never want to lose Tim Duncan, but here's the thing, is that LaMarcus Aldridge is now going to be the guy who's got to D up around Draymond Green. Yeah. And I would say that in his old age, no disrespect to Tim Duncan,
it's a better matchup.
He's not fit. It's like Mozgov on the Cavs last year in the finals. He's not fit to play those guys down low, because the minute that they start to move out towards the perimeter, he can't keep up with them. Yeah. And Tim Duncan's getting to that point. Yeah, he's a great post player, and he's still got his offensive game, but he's not going to run around there with Draymond Green or anybody, or Festus Ezeli even on the inside. I mean, he's just an agile guy. And so LaMarcus Aldridge, this might be the chance to see, like, what is that matchup going to be like between him and Draymond Green? Because I think as much as people talk about Curry and you talk about Klay Thompson, Draymond Green is the X factor of the Warriors. It's no surprise that the minute that he started to really step up, all of a sudden they're a championship team and they're at the top of the league. He's a stretch four. He can shoot the three. He can play defense on the perimeter. He can play defense in the post. I mean, he's everything you want as a player. And when you have him being able to stretch the floor, it opens things up for Curry. And Curry makes his own shot a lot. But, I mean, before, Curry wasn't doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Draymond Green is Mr. Triple-Double as far as that goes. And Tim Duncan, at his age currently, I mean, he's more of a facilitator. It's kind of odd to say as a center, but when he's on the floor, the ball really whips around. And he doesn't take a lot of shots. But honestly, for me, even with Tim Duncan, at full health and everything as it should be, I think you almost have to catch the Warriors on an off shooting night to beat them, because I honestly think they're that much better than everyone else. Even though the Spurs are 38-6 and definitely are the second best team in the league right now.
It's the second best by a decent margin.
So with Tim Duncan being out, I think it's just that much less likely that the Warriors lose.
I think the key to beating Golden State is catching them on a night. Curry's always going to get his points. I mean, Curry's bad nights are 25 points. You know what I mean? But the thing is, the way you beat the Warriors is you have to shut down Klay Thompson. Because when it all falls on Curry, if you can keep Klay Thompson out of the game, and Klay Thompson is a known head case. I mean, when he starts missing shots, they start missing in bunches. And so you have to get his mind off you got to get him out of focus. And then if you can at least contain Draymond Green to an extent, they need all three of those guys to really keep their offense open and keep the ball spread out.
Yeah, if you put enough pressure on Curry, then he can only last for so long under all that.
Exactly. And just one little interjection, more of kind of a hometown kind of thing, but Kemba Walker, 52 on MLK Day and 40 in the same week.
Right.
That guy's having a season. He's now playing the way, well, I guess the then Bobcats wanted him to play, straight out of college. And, that's...
Takes time.
Yeah, especially for a point guard who, was dominating in college, but, it's not realistic. But he's playing now at a very elite level.
Absolutely.
Even if the rest of that team doesn't stay healthy, because I was watching the game the other night and they're dropping like flies. At least we got Kemba.
So do you think that the Hornets are going to have a chance coming up in the Eastern Conference? Because, I mean, I think in the East it's a little less, there's not one person really sitting up top, because, the Bulls just took down the Cavs the other night. And, the Eastern Conference is definitely weaker than the West when it comes to
they played much better this year. I mean,
as a whole.
In my opinion, on the whole, the Eastern Conference probably is the better conference this year. But certainly at the top, the Western Conference is better. But I think certainly the Hornets have a chance to sneak into the playoffs. I mean, you have 10 through 6 separated by 2 or 3 games. And in the NBA, when that league is all about win streaks and getting hot at the right time. I think they can certainly get back in the mix. But at the same time, they can just as quickly, get out of the playoffs. So
we're more accustomed to seeing the latter of those things.
If they make the playoffs, I'm holding my breath right until the last day of the season, because it could easily.
So there's no possible way for them to
it can easily tilt not in their favor.
Absolutely. The thing about the Hornets. The East is a good opportunity, though, because while as a whole the East is a little bit better, you're still competing for a playoff spot with teams like the Knicks, teams at the top that they're not overall amazing teams yet. I'm impressed to see them doing better, but the East has still got to go through Cleveland, regardless of the head coaching change, all that stuff. I think that will round out, and I don't know if the Hornets have enough to beat Cleveland.
Well,
and I don't think
I'm
Cleveland
just talking
has,
about making the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
This is the Charlotte
Baby
expectations for
steps.
basketball.
True.
We try to make the playoffs and expect a 4-game sweep in the
You've
first
got
round.
one team that's doing well. It's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
but I just want to watch competitive basketball, and in the last 3 or 4 years, I've been satisfied because I have seen competitive basketball.
If the Panthers go to the Super Bowl and the Hornets go to the playoffs.
That's a good
That's
year.
a good year.
Yeah,
That's very true.
How are the Knights doing? Like,
Well, I don't follow them as much.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think that'll just about do it for the show today. As always, I'd like to invite you guys to leave your comments, questions, concerns at www.watchapptv.com. Till next time, I'm Robin Palmer.